So we're here. I hit record, which means we're live, and I'm not doing some weird intro. Everybody hits record like, all right, and they go to presentation mode. So I don't do that. I'm a human being. So essentially, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just let you introduce yourself, and then when you're done, I'll make you feel even better because I kind of know what it is you do. Most of the time, people don't like brag, but if you have a brag session of what it is that you've done, and more so why everybody watching should listen to you, please go that route and tell them why.
That's so kind of you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. It's an evening for me right now. I'm in Stockholm, but I'm super happy to be here. Sweden. And I've been really looking forward to this. Yeah, I'm in Sweden. But basically, I guess, how do I describe what I am? Right now, I'm just feeling like I'm so passionate about helping people lead in their lives and really helping people be the change they want to see in the world. Because I really believe that all change starts within. And what Robin Sharma says, he says, when you go out in your life, no matter what you do for a living, you're either coming out as a leader or a victim.
True.
And I'm really here to help people get out of their own way and get rid of what isn't serving them so they can be of service to the world.
Gotcha. So a lot of people that come to you because they're struggling.
They're struggling. And it's not even just struggling. It's people, even just dealing with self-sabotage or struggling with, they have big dreams and they have a heart full of love, but they don't know how to go out in the world and be themselves. They kind of are standing in the way of their dreams. And I help people kind of clear away the crap and feel safe in looking at mental and emotional and spiritual pain that so many times you don't want to look at, but it's the stuff you really have to face so that you can truly embrace your light.
Gotcha. And so next question, the logical question is, how do you do that? Like, how specifically do you go about getting that done?
Getting what done? Sorry, be more specific.
How specifically? Like, how do you do that? Like, if someone would say, "Oh, that sounds great," like, how do you do that? What would be the answer to that question?
Well, first, I have a 6-step method that I work with. So it's basically a 6-step method going from pain to power. So all things start with awareness. If you're not aware of something, you cannot change it. But the problem with when you become aware of something, what most people do is they become scared of the feelings that are coming up because they feel incapable of dealing with it. It feels too overwhelming. They don't have the skills to cope. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that we go into avoidance. 80% of the time, we're going to go into avoidance. And we end up in this cyclical loop of avoiding ourselves by, even overindulging in social media, overindulging in things that could otherwise maybe be healthy, but we get stuck in these patterns of, awareness and avoidance when we're not really living our purpose. We're stuck in kind of these temporary pleasures. So the first step to anything is always becoming aware and feeling safe in knowing that if you become aware of this emotional pain or this thing that you're feeling, maybe it's the fear that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, just being with that and knowing that you have the choice to make the change.
Yeah.
And that's always the first step.
So I think that's completely dead on. There's actually a book that reminds me of that concept, like The Existential Vacuum by Viktor Frankl, talks about the search for meaning, right? Purpose, same concepts.
Yeah.
So where do people, because it's always overarching, people know, or they hear all the time, like, I have a choice, right? But even in that concept, knowing they have a choice, it becomes like this disempowered type thing because people really don't know how. So how do you tell people the best way to find your purpose or find your passion?
Well, first of all, I think we have to separate ourselves from what society might have us do, because I think so many people look at certain people doing certain things and they attach themselves to certain levels of success, but they're basing their success maybe on something that is not really in tune with who they are. So I think always knowing your values and knowing your why. That's been one of the biggest things for me, is having a huge why and knowing what you're fighting for,
Gotcha.
Knowing what means something to you so much. Like, this whole point of this thing is like, I want to let people know that failing is actually a great thing because it means you're trying. And I think so many people fall short of achieving their dreams because something happens. They have a bump in the road, or they've been trying for so long and they're feeling defeated and they're not believing in themselves, but they don't understand that when they're in this process of failing, they're actually surrounded by greatness. You are amidst the greatest people in the world who are there because they failed more times than we have, because they reach out and they just continuously strive and believe in themselves and have a why worth fighting for. So if you just like what you're passionate about and what makes your heart sing, and it doesn't have to be anything huge, but it just has to be true to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if someone on the side has a question, I don't know if you can see, but on the side, people have questions they can ask. And I think it's on your right side. And everybody, if you guys are watching, you can actually ask questions if you're logged in with Twitter. On the right side and the left side, I believe, you can actually type a question where there's like a big Q. But someone had a question said, it's strange we sometimes lose these passions and come back, it's something I wonder why. So wondering, like, why do we lose passions? Why do you think people sometimes have it? Like they wake up, I got it. And then all of a sudden they wake up one day, it's gone.
Yeah. And I think that's also why, having a why is so important because, let's be real here. This is life. Yeah. We're always going to have our ups and downs. Life, and I don't know if I can swear, but, crap gets in the way. Stuff happens, so having that why is really what kind of connects you to that sense of purpose. And even on those days when you don't want to get out of bed, you have something to fight for. And even it's taking a step in the direction of your dreams. But I also think sometimes, for myself personally, and I can only speak from my personal experience, oftentimes when I've come in and out of my passions, I've always come back stronger with stronger connections to my passion, with a greater sense of what it is and how much it means to me. So even if we feel disconnected to it, it never leaves us completely. It's just rediscovering a new aspect of that passion, I think.
So how do you go about teaching people to define their why? Because what I've always told people is the why is not what you think it is. Like it's got to be powerful enough to push you, like you said, when you wake up in the morning and you really don't want to do it. So I guess the question I'm going to say is to you, and whatever your answer is how do you know it's the right why? And then if it's not the right why, how do you find the deeper why? Like what do you do with your clients to help them get there?
I think often our why is buried beneath the stuff we don't want to look at.
Interesting.
And it's often, it's our shadows that define our light. And I think so many of us feel so ashamed and, we don't know how to deal with it. And we think it's our darkness that's our worst qualities, but really they're the things that define us. And they can give us a stronger sense of compassion. And when you're connected, like myself, for example, my why is really helping people overcome their adversities because I struggled with depression and, suicidal ideology for a very long time. And I made a promise to myself that I would help it, make it out so I could help other people. And that is so strong for me because I've been through that journey. I've had that experience and I know what it's like to be where I was and I know what it's like to be where I am. And I just want so many people to know that there is possibility beyond the pain and within every obstacle, there is an opportunity.
Yeah. And I full-heartedly agree with that. I know a lot of people, they get to the same thing. Like when I work with them, it's kind of like, they kind of have the idea and always find like, how do we do that? It's always the question I'm always trying to figure out is how do we find that opportunity? And there's a question somebody says on the side, Shannon Serenity says, oh man, this is the right message for me today. My two words of focus are discipline and consistency. It's so hard to do when you are so busy. What are some time management tips you have? So that's going to you.
That is a great one, actually. And for me, it's been actually a consistent lesson for me. And I'm constantly in a work in progress in this area, but I'm a perfectionist, and which is also, I think, what a lot of us are, especially in this industry. And we just want to be so good at what we do. And we're driving ourselves forward in this focus and this discipline and everything. But sometimes we need to learn that when we take time off, we're actually being more efficient. When we take that time to disconnect with the momentum that we're having and reconnect with ourselves, we take, a few minutes a day to just decompress and find the silence and stillness, even if it's going out for a walk in nature. But, when you get so caught up in momentum and you're so in your head, you're not in your heart. Yeah. And when you're in your heart, you're so much more effective and efficient because you're run by something greater than yourself and you're not getting in your own way. Gotcha.
So how would you go about, because I think a lot happens with people and like this busy thing is we get to these senses of feeling like, well, we have to do this. Like we'll always tell people like you can have this freedom, but they're like, oh no, you don't understand. I have to do this, or I have this I have to be doing. And so we get to this level of almost convincing ourselves that we can't then go do that. So how do you get to that reversal? Like how do you talk yourself out of that amazing excuse that tells you you're too busy to go chase whatever you want to chase?
Yeah. And I think, the answer is right in the question. It's awareness, right? So the minute you're aware of it is taking the opportunity, once you become aware that you're doing it, is to create enough space to make a new choice. Mm-hmm. The problem is that most of us are in reaction mode. We're not in response. We're driven by the, 90% of the habitual behaviors, thoughts, and experiences that we've always been driven by, but we don't take enough opportunity to just make enough space to make a new choice.
Yeah.
And then we stack our successes. And be kind to yourself if you don't do it. Mm-hmm. I never got anywhere by someone trying to force me to do anything, and that includes myself. Yeah. I don't exclude myself from that. The more I try and pressure myself, the worse it gets. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. So just create. I talk a lot about redefining success. Like,
How do you do that?
okay, we have these massive goals and visions, but, you know, a successful life is stacked by creating successful days, a successful day and a successful day and a successful day. But we've already covered that a lot of days, shit happens, crap happens, stuff gets in the way, life happens. Your relationship goes this, you're taking on other people's problems. You got all of these things flying in your way. Well, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to bed and think coulda, shoulda, woulda? Are you going to go, I'm so grateful that I did. I was successful because. And the more you honor the small successes, the more you take giant leaps in the directions of your dreams, because you're not resisting what is. You're embracing what is and using it as a force to push yourself forward rather than something to stop you.
I like that. It makes complete sense. I mean, for me, it makes complete sense. I've lived in that area. So Jayhawk 542 says, I think my why is training and project management. I have 2 home-based businesses and I work full-time job. I'm not able to do my why at my full-time job. How do I find a position that embraces my why?
So he's in a position, let me just read this again. Can you read it again for me just so I'm giving a good answer?
Yeah. Essentially, not able to do my why at my full-time job. How do I find a passion that embraces my why?
A passion that embraces your why.
A position.
Oh, so like finding a new
job. How do you find a position that embraces her why? So how does she find a position that will embrace whatever her why is?
Well, I think when you want to connect with your passion, and I hope I'm understanding this correctly, but there's always a way to do it. And whether or not, sometimes that can become a hobby that extends into something else. But she also sounds like someone who's, and this is a girl, correct? Or
that's a girl, yes.
She?
She.
Yeah. It's someone that's actually a leader in what she does and potentially someone who actually might want to leave into this field of entrepreneurship. But there's always a gap between leaving what you do and doing what you want to do, right? You know that as well, Anthony, I'm sure.
I do, yeah.
There's always this kind of dead space of air when you I left everything I was doing to do this. And then there's this kind of space, this vacuum where you're leaving one thing and into the next. And it's like this thing where you just have to have complete faith that it's going to work. But if you're so passionate about it, you'll always find a way.
Yeah.
You'll always find a way to make it work. And you have to remain open to the experiences that life will give you when you become open to it. So once you set that intention and you have that awareness, what is life bringing your way? Because, you set your intention for something and all of a sudden books are going to fall off the shelf, or someone's going to come into your life, or you're going to be watching this and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And you have to be open to all the ways your life can change and the ways that you can change your experience to embrace this new way of being.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And what I tell people all the time is, everybody gets to the same place of pain you're at. Like everyone gets to that same wall. I mean, for some, they have a different threshold. Like, someone could absorb more pain, more troubles, and then no problem. But everybody usually gets to that same wall of like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's at that wall, it's at that cusp. It becomes like this precipice of who fails and who goes through. And it's usually the 1% of people that really will push past that. And it's kind of this thing where I tell people it's like the 99% of people will stop at that line and won't push past, and they'll watch that one person walk to the end of the goal. The problem is we don't know where that's at. We think we're at it and we're not really at it.
You don't know, and it just moves. You think you're getting there and it's like the finish line keeps moving. You're like, what the heck?
Pretty much it. Trick. And I watched some guy talk about recently. He's like, I worked with some guy. He brought a Navy SEAL to his house and basically had the guy live with him for a while. He's telling a story about how the guy goes out back and says, hey, do a pull-up. I mean, as many as you can. So he does 5 or 6 pull-ups. He says, do more. 30 seconds later, do some more. He does 2 or 3 more. Wait 30 seconds. Okay, do some more. He does 1. He's like, all right, we're going to do 100 more before we leave this space. So the guy in his head's like, I got 2. I can't get 100. And so he said he got 100 done. But he's like, what we think is our max is really 40% of our max. We don't think that. And so I think with that concept of realizing that you actually have the ability to push past, then you get to that wall because your why is going to be enough to drive you. But the why is going to be tough in those moments of where it's actually tough.
Oh God. And the thing is, when you're in those moments, and I've been there and I know you have too, Anthony, and so many of us have, where I'd be lying if I said I really saw the light. I just had to have faith that was there.
Yeah.
And in those moments, I surround myself with inspiration. I unplugged myself. I was radical. I unplugged myself completely from TV and anything that wasn't feeding my mind with total inspiration. I was listening to, Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard. I was listening to stuff like this all the time. And I was actually fanatically researching stories of people who had failed.
Interesting.
And, I'll never forget, I was listening to Tony Robbins' story about how he was washing his dishes in the bathtub,
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to that when I didn't have a home. I was living in the office of someone's business office. I didn't even have a fridge. My fridge was a barbecue in the backyard in the snow in Stockholm. And I was thinking, that lucky bastard, he actually had a tub to wash his dishes in.
It's all perspective, right?
But, I kept reminding myself, think about all these great people. Albert Einstein couldn't talk until he was 4 years old. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team and cried. Oprah Winfrey was told she would never be amount to anything.
Yeah.
You yourself have this story. Every single great person in history. Look at Nelson Mandela, spending 27 years in prison.
Yeah.
Talk about, and you talked about Viktor Frankl as well. So it's like, I think in those moments when you don't feel like you have the strength within you, you have to look to other people who have done it before and believe it's possible.
Gotcha.
And I would look to, their personality strength, traits, and kind of trying to embody them myself to kind of piggyback me, piggyback on their, yeah.
What's funny is, and I've actually talked about this exact same thing, and then most people think in their head, they're like, well, I don't have a story that big, mine's not that powerful, or, I didn't go through like a internment camp, or like a concentration camp like Viktor Frankl. So what do you tell a person who's like, oh, my story's not that great, not that big?
I would say that person is suffering in themselves, because to believe that your story isn't great, to believe that you don't have greatness within you just because you don't have that particular story, suffering is suffering is suffering. And I've spoken to I have friends. I lived in South Africa for a while. They survived the Rwandan Holocaust, and, they're the most amazing people I've ever met in my entire life. And I respect them so much, but they've even spoken about it. The reason why we have compassion is because compassion is bred of suffering. And if you have suffered yourself, you understand the nature of suffering. That's why you can understand how awful the Holocaust has been. And just because you don't have this crazy story doesn't mean you don't have something within you that isn't so great it could be a gift to the world. And I think that thought is a suffering mentality. That's what you call hell on earth, when you're living with those kind of thoughts in your head, that you're not good enough to be of service because you don't have a certain story that validates the message that you want to portray to the world. Yeah,
and I think in my perspective, it's like it's really, if you can help one person, really, if you can help one person, a lot of people are in the exact same place, and we don't know the struggles somebody else is having. You don't know the struggles that someone else is dealing with. So because of that, you don't know if you can help them. But if you think you can't help them, then you're not going to help them. But at the end of the day, you got to push out and do something that actually it enlivens people. And I think sometimes we get to the place where we think our story is the most important thing, but it's really not. It's helping somebody else remove their story. And however you do that, it's the most important thing. So
absolutely. And I think
go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, it was a question. Go ahead.
Oh, please do.
I'm just going to ramble, so you just go.
The question for Jayhawk is another question. It says, for me, it's how do I pay my bills with this full-time job that may not be self-fulfilling? I'm doing good work with K through 12 teachers, but sometimes I don't think it makes you think of the beauty of how anyone else broken their eyes. Listening to yourself is a skill I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out, because it looks like it stopped and started. So basically what she's saying is, like, how do you do that when you're stuck in this job that you're doing, that you like, but you're not in love with, and it hinders your ability to push forwards?
Yeah. And I think, I've heard a lot of people tell that story, and I've worked with people that have told that story. And the thing is, when you have something that you really believe in, sometimes it takes staying up those extra hours when you think you don't have them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes pushing beyond that boundary a little bit. Sometimes it takes bringing out that fire within you and just saying, I want this so bad. There was nights when I was sleeping like only 3 hours because I just had other things I had to do, but I was so passionate about getting it done. So, and it's, again, redefine success. What can you do today to take yourself a step forward? And you don't have to do everything now. You don't have to it's not about making these massive leaps. It's about, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You find one thing, you create success in space, and then you do the next, and you do the next, and you do the next. That's
pretty good. I like the way it makes complete sense. I think it's chunking. I tell people all the time when they get to this level of like, well, Aunt, I got this dream. I'm like, oh, go do this. Their first thought is, well, I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, do you ever have like an extra half an hour a day? They're like, well, yeah, I got 30 minutes. I'm like, well, what if in that 30 minutes every day, you just sat down, turned everything off, and just started working little by little on writing down what you want to do? I'm like, well, what's that going to do? I'm like, well, by the end of the week, you're going to have like 3.5 hours. I mean, pretty simple. By the end of the month, you're going to have, 6, 12, 26 or so. Is that right? No, it's completely wrong because I added up incorrectly. But you have like a good chunk of time, right?
I'm not watching
3.5, 6.5. You're going to have 12, like 13 hours of time added up. So what I tell people is all you have to do is just like take that first simple step and let everything roll from there. That's how I've done it. That's everybody I know has done it. You get to that place of, okay, I don't know what to do, but it's going to be a lot. Like, okay, it's going to be a lot, but I'm going to start here and just do this. I tell people, find a way before you find an excuse. So I think if you start chunking, like you said, like eat an elephant one bite at a time, chunk it up, take these little itty bitty bites.
Bite it up.
And then you find something, you're like, oh, this an idea pops up and something moves, but you can't see what's going to happen around the bend until you start walking the path. Period. It's not going to happen.
No, take the first step in faith, just like Martin Luther King said. Yeah. And when I began, I had absolutely no belief I could do this. I just I had this. I could say I had my spirit knew, or like really internally I knew, but I didn't believe in myself from, I guess, an egoic perspective. I had no belief that it was possible, but I just kept taking that step in faith, and the doors kept opening. And the small, like tiny steps were the most important, because that's what built my confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me going. And the more I realized, oh, geez, I did that, maybe I can do this. And you're just kind of like, and like inching yourself a little bit more. Yeah. Like put your toe in the water, see how it is.
Yeah, that's literally how
but just don't stop. Always. Yeah, and I think the key is just don't stop. So if you have a bad day and you fall off, whatever you do, don't punish yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't put yourself down. Don't punish yourself. Don't stop because one day wasn't the best. It's like whatever you do, compassion at all costs. Be compassionate with yourself, because if you're hard on yourself, you can't beat yourself into submission. You're never going to do that.
True.
So you really have to, and that's how like addictions are perpetuated anyway, right? Because you do something and then you beat yourself over, and then you go do the same thing that the addiction. It's how you perpetuate habitual behavior. So at all costs, be compassionate, and if you have a bad day, if you have a bad week, just get back on and keep going.
Good. Here's a question, another one. Serenity's got these great questions coming, and if we're at that like 20-minute mark, are you good with time? You have to hop off right now.
Oh, I'm good. No, I'm all good. I'm very happy.
So I got another idea I might throw into it. So she says, in dealing with suffering, at what point do you look up and say, this isn't working? Maybe I should refocus my priorities and my passion and reevaluate my goals. What point?
I think, I don't know, because it's so hard to say what point. What are we measuring the point by? But I think there's always an internal navigation system by which we know we're on the right path. But just because we're on the right path doesn't mean we can't change strategies. But you have to know within yourself, if, for example, if something's not working, if you've been trying to run your business and you're trying the same thing over and over again, there's a point where you're like, okay, a good businessman will reevaluate and re-strategize, but maybe not give up. But it's not necessarily a point that you need to give up. It's if the knowing within you is so strong that you know that this is what you're meant to do. It's just a matter of finding a way.
Yeah.
And somewhere within yourself, you always know if you're tricking yourself, if you're fooling yourself, if it's the ego's game, or if it's something deeper within you that's talking. And the more you get to know yourself, the more you will be able to unblur that line a little bit and begin to listen more to your heart than what your mind's trying to tell you.
Gotcha. And we have a couple more questions too. So someone says, I love my job. I was a CNA for 7 years, injured my back, became a waitress, and I love it so much. I've been with Denny's for 13 years. Sometimes people say to me, just you walking up smiling has helped my day. I have so many great conversations at work with customers, and I have some that live 2 hours away from me that come once a month. I guess it wasn't a question. I thought it was, but it's more of a statement. That's awesome.
No, but it's so beautiful. And that's amazing. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with, leaders. It's people who go out in the world and lead.
Yeah.
And, I'm often thinking about this woman actually because you and I have been at Brenda Burchard events, and there's this woman at the events. She's actually the bathroom attendant, but I think she's actually the most enlightened person at the whole thing. And I actually literally think of her often because every single person that was leaving that bathroom always had a massive smile on their face. She glowed. Yeah. And just every single person that left that bathroom was touched by her. I actually loved going in there, and she had great candy, so it was awesome too.
I don't think it would make fares well in the men's bathroom. Maybe a little bit different. So here's one. Matt Picanda says, "For me, I love what I do, and it's within my goals. But I'm surrounded by peers who make double of what I make, and it makes me feel like a failure. I try to think about money, but when you're surrounded by it, it gets in your head."
And I totally understand that, because I've been there as well. And that's why I'm so passionate about redefining success, because we all know that, for example, this bathroom attendant making, I'm sure, less than these people is probably one of the happiest people I've ever met. Whereas I've met some of the richest people on the planet and they're unhappy. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, if you're doing what you love and you go to bed with a smile in your heart and you know you've made a difference and you're following your purpose, that's when you're really connected to something greater than yourself, that's when you're going to have the drive to go forward. But I can totally understand that feeling. And I have to remind myself sometimes as well, because we're based in a society that really rewards that and we revere it. Mm-hmm. But we really have to take an objective stance on what does money truly provide? Does it enable us to just help more people? Or is it something that we think is going to bring us happiness? Or what is our relationship with money? And it's something that I am working on myself. So,
you always are.
You know, yeah. So, but I think it's always redefining success. It's so massive that you just redefine what success means to you. Not meaning that you can't go for these massive goals, but it's about enjoying the journey. And being so kind to yourself and grateful and loving to yourself, your life, and your mission, whatever it is.
Gotcha. I like that. That's powerful. So I'm going to try something. So this whole blab thing, you guys probably watching don't even know this, but I can have at least 4 people on here. So here's my thought. I can unlock this seat and let somebody actually hop on with us. Would you be open to like try that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, cool.
That'd be weird. Here's the thing. Here, if you hop on this with us and you start going crazy and you're like, you're weird, like you know what weird is. Like you're like awkward, you say something weird, I'm just gonna cut you off, just so you know. But I'm gonna open this thing and I'm gonna let somebody hit the button. It's open. So, Shannon, I'm gonna connect her. Let's see if she can actually do this. This is gonna be weird. It's first time doing this. I saw it and I was like, huh.
Oh, cool.
I wonder if I can try. So let's see if she actually is on here. Her name is Connected.
Thank you to everyone's here. This is so fun.
Life coach Joe says, money does not create fulfillment. The path of life is very interesting. And finding happiness is inside you. Yeah, I fully agree with that, life coach Joe. He was a skater, says, I know this feeling. I am an introvert. It's a strange sensation. But once you take a step back from being a people pleaser, it ended right there. Blab rocks. I love it. Oh, cool. Yeah, Blab. Actually, this is a pretty cool thing. Okay, so Connected something. She's not on. I want her to join, but she's not. Somebody's liking. Is she on here? Connected? Do I have to do something? I follow her? I don't know. She's not on there. All right. So if anybody wants to join this conversation, you're welcome to click the little button you see in the screen there that says open seat. And then you should be able to join. Oh, she hopped out, so she's not on. If not, then we're just gonna. I always have one final awkward random question. I always ask people, just because I want to I don't have some dumb question that ends it, because it is what it is. So if no one wants to join, we got 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, nobody's joining. So go ahead.
I can give one little anecdote. It's just in speaking about the money and how we can understand that money doesn't matter. It's not integral to your happiness. If I can just give that little story there, because it might be helpful for someone. I don't know.
Yeah, please do.
But about 5 years ago, I gave up everything I had to live out of a backpack and do events for kids from around the world. And but prior to that, I was an actress and I was a fashion designer, and I had this massive, wardrobe, and I had so much nice stuff. And after 5 years of living out of a backpack, I can say that I didn't realize how much emphasis I was putting on the things and how much of our happiness really just comes from within. And I can't tell, I'm almost going to cry. I mean, I've never felt more beautiful and more incredibly satisfied. And it's not about that you can't have money in doing that. I'm just saying that it's not what gives it to you. It's something that comes from within you. And that's why it's so important to be compassionate and loving towards yourself. Never think that your story is not worth it. Never think that you're not worth anything. You are here for a reason. Mm-hmm. There's how many people, what is the actual possibility that any of us are here and born? Sure. And in this place, what is, I mean, it's like a 4 trillion percentage that you were born in this exact DNA. I mean, I'm probably just throwing crap out there now, but it's an insane statistic, and you're here. Yeah. So never think it's because you don't have this insane story. It's you. That's what matters, and your spirit and what you're bringing to the world. Yeah. That's it.
It's a choice. It's always a choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah. And no one's gonna, here's the thing, people.
So simple, but not easy.
No one's gonna give you permission to be great. Just so you're aware, there's no somebody's gonna grant you this fairy thing saying, hey, you can now be great. It's just a choice. And people aren't going to get it. People are not going to fully understand your choice to be great. They're not supposed to. And they're not going to know it until you are in the process of being and doing great things. So for me, it's taken me a year, over a year, to get to the point where I can actually have only 45 people on watch a blab at this time, right? A year. I've done a video every single day for 344 days. But I didn't start back then thinking, oh, someone's going to think I'm great or not. It wasn't about that. It was fully about, you know what? I choose to be great. I want to be great at whatever it is of sharing this message. So I went, and people make fun of me. People think I'm stupid. My people around my area, they think I'm just some alien, a weirdo. What does this guy do all day, right? So essentially, just do what you choose. Like, yeah, you're one of an amazing small amount of humans. So just go be happy. So here's the question I'm going to ask you. If you were,
I've been dreading this, by the way.
Really?
To throw that out
it's
there.
an easy question.
Yes.
If you were on the run from the police for a crime you didn't commit, where would you go?
Where would I go?
Yeah.
Oh, probably to the police station and say, "Hey, you guys are looking for me, but I didn't do it."
But you're on the run. You just messed it all up. So you're on the run, and they think you did it. Let's put it that.
I'm like honest to a flaw. I don't know.
It's like the fugitive who's a one-armed man. Like where would you go if you were on the run? You had to hide. Like let's say you pulled in Osama. You're out. You're ghost. Where do you go? I'm assuming not holes.
If I had to hide, I'd probably go to like the local sports event because it'd probably be the last place they'd look for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, Matt's
I don't know.
His happy place. Well, I guess that's just what it is. So, yeah, somebody else is saying.
What it is.
Says, I'm leaving a 14-year career with a major company to move to Atlanta. The fear of failure has kept me in security, but I can't even focus anymore. It's a very scary thing. So what do you say to her?
I'm leaving a 14-year career with a major company to move to Atlanta. Okay. By not being able to focus, you mean that you're not able to focus on your present moment? I'm just trying to get an idea of exactly what she's talking about.
She should join. I should open up the seat. She should click the button.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that, Shannon Serenity.
But the thing is, like, jump on. The fear of failure is so paralyzing. That's the thing. But the more we resist something, the more it persists. So I always encourage people to sit with it and be with it. You know, hey.
Hi.
Great to see you.
You too. I'm sorry, my voice is a little crazy right now. But
that's okay.
But essentially, what I mean is I'm leaving a 14-year career with my company. I've actually worked myself up from almost kind of like Drake says, from the bottom, and now we're here. Leaving all of that to pursue my dreams, pursue my goals in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a single mother with 2 kids, so leaving security in the sense that, you know, I have a well-paying job, I have a home, I have, you know, all of these things that most people would probably say, wow, you've got it good, to pursue something in Atlanta, Georgia, where I have no family. That's very, very scary. So I was just kind of responding to your story about you having to leave everything, how you had to, I guess you said, live out of your backpack for a while.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that pain right there. That's
where
I'm going.
Yeah. Well, it's really beautiful. And the thing is, when you're stretching outside of your comfort zone, like Neil Donald Walsh says, life begins outside of your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
But if it was comfortable, then it would be kind of ordinary. You wouldn't be stretching yourself. But when I find myself in situations like that, every single time, I just take a moment and I ask myself, Ashley, are you leaning into fear or are you leaning into faith?
Exactly.
That's the choice that's presented for you, right?
Yeah.
And when you make that choice, lean into faith, the energy changes. And it doesn't mean the fear's not there, but you're leaning towards faith. Mm-hmm. And even maybe like developing a mantra for yourself, or like a little like affirmation that you say to reinforce that faith. I believe in my dream. I am worthy of this life. I'm worthy of this dream.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I deserve my happiness.
I love
and
that.
Always lean into the faith.
Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off now.
All right.
Thank you. Good luck. Really, so many blessings and good luck. Good luck.
And I think a lot of that boils down to like the whole faith thing is the concept of comprehending. Like faith is just this unknowing knowing, if that makes sense. Like we really don't fully know, but you know. Yes. And so it's kind of this idea of sitting back and like inside. And so that boils down to everything that you know, as opposed to focusing on everything you don't know. Because that's where I think a lot of people get this fear place of like, well, I don't know that. And that's fine. I don't know a lot of stuff, but I know what I know. And so I know when I bring that forwards, I'll find out what I don't know. And that's the process of learning and growing. That's where my faith grows, because faith is this ever evolving thing that comes from you just focusing on what you already know, or already have done successfully. And you can lean to that faith. You're like, hey, I got that done. So let's keep moving forwards. I don't know this. That's cool. This tells me I'll figure it out in time, because everything back here at some point was up here where I didn't know it. And you just keep moving forwards. Yeah.
100%. And I think so much of this is wrapped into our self-worth as well. So we really have to investigate. I think so many people, and a lot of people I work with as well. And that's why I'm so focused on, I don't mean dwell in the pain. I just mean recognize and acknowledge it so you can move beyond it. And so many people have these feelings of unworthiness, that they're not worthy of their big dreams and of their life, and it becomes scary because they haven't broken through that boundary so many times. So it's exactly what you're saying. You just lean into it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then the comfort zone grows and grows and grows, and you're more able to take faith because you have something to back it up.
True.
You have proof that it works, right?
And you build more proof as you look at your proof. This proof helps build more proof.
Yeah.
Just goes.
Exactly.
All right, so we're towards the end of it, and I'm not going to add no more questions. What I'm essentially to say is, if you want to sign off with anything specific, how can people get a hold of you? What is it you do? Like, if you had this thing you wanted to share at this moment, your dying deathbed words, what would you want people to know about you, what you do, and how they can find out, how they get a hold of you?
Well, everyone can go to www.ashley-cooper.com. There I have a whole bunch of videos and resources. I'm just truly here to be of service. I also have a signature Pain to Power program, which is my 6-step program that helps people go through the steps. I've broken my 6-step program from Pain to Power, my 6-step method, into 35 smaller chunks. So it's literally totally brain proof. You can see exactly how to go from unconscious pain to unconscious power in your life and really make your dreams a reality. So I have actually a 3-part free video series. It's 3 hours long, and I break down my entire method for free. Everyone can go see it.
Got to do that. We're going to put a
people
link
are having incredible results.
I like it.
Yeah, it's Pain to Power. Okay, great. Yeah, that's paintopower.com. And
put the link in the comment section there. And then Tom Murphy, he has a question.
How do I do this?
On the side, it's going to say send a message. Hey, Tom, 1 second. I'm going to have her type something in, and we can do audio only. It says you have a poor signal, but we can hear you, I think. On the side down on your right, Ashley, there's going to be a little space to send a message. Do you see that?
Send a message.
Yeah, so post the link to what you were talking about in there. And then, Tom, what's your question?
Hey, guys. So I've recently had a bit of a fallout with some friends, but they were good friends. I just feel like being an introvert, meeting extroverts, is quite a difficult task sometimes. I feel like we live in an extrovert world. So being a little sensitive with people can be threatening to some people. So I was just curious about what should I do if they don't understand, and how to make the decision if they're for you or not. It's always a strange one.
Yeah.
Make a decision if the people are right for you. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they're great people, but you just don't know how to be kind of suitable for them when you're only yourself. If you understand me, if you can't pretend, you can't put on an act like a lot of people can.
And this has created you to have a falling out with these people as well?
I think so, yeah. I think they were just becoming a bit analytical of me because maybe I'm a more sensitive person, and it's not seen as very masculine in the UK, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's
I can totally relate as well, because I don't seem like it, but I'm an extreme introvert. I'm really introverted.
I love that.
And
as an introvert, I really appreciate difference. I think it's amazing. It's what makes great conversations happen.
Well, I think it's beautiful that you're so aware of that, number one.
Thank you.
And I talk a lot, in my program, and I really honor that and respect that, because that takes that takes a big person to see that within themselves and want to do something about it and make the choice to make the change as well. And in, my program, I talk a lot about the third step is accountability, and it's really taking accountability. And I talk a lot about taking accountability in our relationships as well. And for you, I think you need to, see how you can separate yourself from the people. And it's not about their judgment towards you, but how do you feel when you're around them? And if you're not feeling comfortable around them and they're draining you of your energy, like I feel like maybe you're a little bit like me, and you want people to be happy and feel comfortable, and you'd rather people feel comfortable than you know what I mean? You'd rather make yourself uncomfortable and make other people feel uncomfortable.
That, isn't it? We don't want to be selfish. We don't want to be selfish,
and the thing is,
that's it.
Yeah. And I think, there's people, your tribe is out there. And it doesn't mean that you have to take these people out of your life altogether. But I think opening yourself up to communities, like I belong to a couple of communities on Facebook, for example, and we're like empaths, it's a group of female empaths, and we share our stories about feeling super vulnerable. So your tribe is out there. And I think the more you connect with people like me and take accountability for that place in your life and say, okay, I respect my feelings as much as I respect other people's. And I respect myself. and I have to honor myself and do what makes me feel loved and comfortable and good.
It's almost like the survival.
And whatever that is for you.
Feelings.
Yeah. It's difficult as a guy. I mean, as a male, I'm an American male, which I know is different than a UK male. I know it's aspects that you don't talk about certain things. The cool part I think about technology is we have access to different communities. Like I'm literally, she's in Sweden and I'm in California and you're in the UK and we're on together at the same time, right? So you just got to kind of find your areas. It's almost interesting because in order to find the introverts, you have to be an extrovert to find them. I think is maybe a weird way to look at it. But if you go out and search, I'm sure there's like groups of people that you can communicate and talk with and find. And then you start finding that place where you feel comfortable. And I think at that level, you find power in that vulnerability and that comfort where the rest of the judgments of the UK, typically, they mean nothing because you're just a human on a planet. You happen to live where everybody else is shut down. That's fine. They can live in their own box of weird fear and feelings and they don't want to share anything. Cool. But for you, it's a point where you step back and say, you know what? This is me. I'm who I am. I love this guy and I'm going to be this guy, whether you like it or not. And then just be that guy. If the people around you don't get it, then they're not the right people to have around you.
That was amazing.
100%. And I think also, there always is a space. Like I went through a period of time when I went through changing as well. And I kind of went through this empty space where I didn't have so many friends around me because I had changed and I was honoring more who I was. And then it wasn't just a fit anymore. So sometimes in order to fill our cup, that's what someone told me when it happened as well. They're like, in order to fill your cup, you have to empty it as well. And you have to be willing to have, that kind of space where you're willing to let more people in and let go of the old to let in with the new as well.
Have you seen that comment there? Your vibe attracts your tribe. I just thought
Yeah.
It should be on a t-shirt.
Exactly.
Danielle Beatty.
Yeah, totally.
It's a good one.
Sick.
But you're so cool, Tom, and I totally admire and respect you. And I don't think you're going to have any problems because just the way you even reached out to us, I think I completely honor you. I think you're just amazing.
You made me feel comfortable taking the step. Yeah, so I don't feel as nervous anymore.
Good, man. It happens like that over and over and over, but you had to take that one little step to get to that level, so it's good.
Just to get easier, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, 100%.
Man. I'm going to give you some high fives here.
Oh, boom. Got this one, guys. It's really appreciative.
But if you want to,
if
you want as well. Oh, sorry, Tom. I think I was cutting out a little bit. There's cutting out. But if you want, you can also check out the videos as well. There's a lot of stuff to help you maybe walk through this process. And I'm always there if you want to make comments and stuff. I'm more than happy to help you with that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Very welcome.
Total pleasure. Good luck.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we'll wrap it up. I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you. Make sure you type in or tell me because it's gonna be a video. It's gonna circulate on everything. So again, what's the website?
For they can go to pain2power.com. I'll put it in again in case I went to the
pain.
That's where they can power.com. Nope, pain PAINTO power.com.
Perfect.
And then I'll put my actual website as well there if people want to just go check that out. I'm super grateful for everyone that's been listening. This has been so fun. Awesome, I'm really grateful to you.
I love this stuff because this is like, 3 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And then now I'm just talking, and I'm learning from this. I'm learning a lot and I love it. I didn't know a lot of the names of people that you were even mentioning. So I think that's the kind of cool part about it is all these ideas. This is the world. We are literally in the world sharing ideas. And this is amazing. So I truly appreciate you, Ashley, for coming on. And every single person who watches, I don't think anybody comprehends how much, I truly greatly appreciate every soul that comes on and spends, this is their life. You guys are spending your life with us, it always amazes me. I love what I get to do as a career. It's amazing. So thank you guys very much. Thank you, Ashley. If you want to say goodbye too, I'm going to stop recording whenever you're done saying goodbye.
Okay. No, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone. And I just wish you so many blessings and I hope your dreams come true and never stop chasing them ever, ever, ever. Stay true to yourself.
Ever. All right, cool.